Welcome to the latest Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland Leadership Interview Series. For the last several months, starting with Jeff Branch, our CEO and President, we've been interviewing each of our executives as well as the directors. And moving forward, we will continue with other positions, and we look forward to sharing with you all a little bit about the personalities and the lives of the folks that are intimately involved in our residents' lives and caring for the community as well as the people that live and work here. I'm Ann Kempsell. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland, and today I have the privilege of interviewing Mary Ann Costin, who is our Director of Communications and PR for Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland. And it's kind of an interesting position to be in during the time of COVID. So today we're hoping to learn a little bit about how Mary Ann got here, her background, and some personal things about her. So why don't we start out with how you ended up at LSMMD?
Sure. Well, the short story is basically I applied for the job. But, I have been a Carroll County resident since 2009. I had worked over at Carroll Community College for about 8 years, and then decided to transition into healthcare. And when I did that, I ended up working over at Johns Hopkins, one of their community hospitals, Howard County General Hospital in Columbia. And really, I kind of wanted to get into the healthcare field. It's a growing field. It's a field that I just had an interest in. I had been working 14 years in higher ed and, wanted to do something different. Spent a couple of years doing that, and then ended up at working for a behavioral health company doing marketing work. And while both those positions were really just fascinating in terms of the work and learning about the industries, I really missed working within Westminster, working, within the area in which I live. So one day, I happened to be looking through the job board sites, and there aren't too many opportunities for somebody of my position. It's not like, there's a lot of marketing jobs being advertised within Westminster. And so when I saw the position, I was like, oh, cool, this is right in Westminster, and there's a little bit of a healthcare aspect, plus, it's a new, it would be a new industry for me, which I like getting into newer industries. One thing about marketing is the skills are transferable. So because you just work in, one industry, it doesn't mean you can't use those same marketing principles for another. So I saw this position as really an opportunity to work within the community and where I live, getting to do that again, and B, getting to work within a newer industry, especially since I think I'm going to end up in a CCRC one of these days. I don't have kids, so I keep telling my husband, we're going to be in one of these facilities, and I gotta say, like, shortly after I started working here, I was a little envious of some of the activities and whatnot that happens here. I was like, dag, it's kind of like, college dorm life for older adults. You have dining halls, you have fun activities, some with alcohol, you have, a fitness center, you have a healthcare center, there's security, there's people you get to mingle with. So yeah, it's been, a really good experience and a really good learning and just working experience for myself.
Well, I can personally say that I'm so glad that Mary Ann is part of our team, because it is a big job, and there is just no way that I could do all the things that she is doing as well as what I'm responsible for. So how did you get into marketing and communications and public relations?
Sure. So, well, I guess it really stems back to basically when I was in college. I had originally started off in fashion merchandising. Then I gave it some more thought and was like, I can't really draw, so I think designing's kind of out of the question. And you know, there's the merchandising aspect, and I was already working in retail at a clothing store in Columbia, Maryland. That's kind of where I grew up. And I was like, I don't see myself working in retail forever. So in any case, I decided to change majors, and then I thought I was going to major in finance. Well, by that time I transferred to Frostburg State University, and I took my first finance class, and I was like, there's just no way I'm majoring in finance. So I got into marketing, provided a bit of a creative side, and that's how I basically started getting into marketing. I got my bachelor's at Frostburg State University, swore I would never go for another degree, and about 4 years later I started getting the thirst and ended up going for my master's degree over at Johns Hopkins University. I've worked in various industries, from children's wear manufacturing. Maybe you've heard of some of the brands, Little Me brand baby wear, as well as Ralph Lauren infants and toddlers, as well. And then I moved into the technical recruiting realm. I have worked in credit union industry. I've worked in higher ed, healthcare, as I've mentioned before. So yeah, just a variety of industries and doing all kinds of neat stuff. So, but I like that. I like trying new things and working in new different industries. Just you know, gives a little freshness to my skills. Yeah.
I remember a long time ago someone telling me that you know, you might start out after college thinking, or during college, what you're going to end up with. And if somebody had told me, I won't say how many years ago, that I would end up in senior living, I would have just not believed them. And so, you know, it is a path, and you have to be open to other opportunities. You had mentioned that you live now in Westminster. Mm-hmm. Have you always lived here in Westminster?
No. So I primarily grew up in the Ellicott City and Columbia area. So my parents divorced when I was about 7, and Dad lived in Ellicott City, Mom lived in Columbia. They had shared custody, so during the week I would spend my week with Dad. He lived in Ellicott City, and I would go to school in Ellicott City. And then on the weekends, I would see my mom and spend the weekends with her. So, yep, so sort of that Howard County area. So I can totally relate to, you know, like where Miller's Grant is located. Actually, you know, every time I drive by Miller's Grant, I remember I lived in Dunlogan. I remember as a kid riding my bike from Dunlogan past Miller's Grant, past the library, past Miller's Grant, to go to Dogwood Road, where my best friend lived. She belonged to a community pool in that neighborhood, so, and at the time, you know, I didn't drive, I was a kid, so, you know, what did you do to get around? You rode your bike. I got a lot of exercise in. I am now nowhere near that fit anymore.
Or any of us. You mentioned your husband. How did you guys meet?
We met over at Carroll Community College, and actually he was on the hiring committee for me, for my position. and we didn't start dating until maybe probably about 2 years after I was there working. I was the website editor and communications manager there, and he is the website manager. So he's in charge of all the technical aspects with regards to the college's website as well as their e-learning system. But where we worked together was he would do the technical stuff and I would, basically do the copy, work with our designers, our graphic designers on the graphics, things of that nature. Basically, adding the marketing piece to the various web pages where he would do the technical. So, yeah.
Great. And you guys lived here, as you said, in Westminster now.
Yeah, so we had lived together for about 10 years, and then we got married in April 29th. It was a month before my birthday.
Coming up on your first year anniversary.
Yeah. It was like a wild 3 months. So we got married on April 29th over at the courthouse here. And then my birthday was May 29th, and then I started here June 29th. Somebody told me I should play that number. I'm not much of a lottery number player, so.
Well, that's kind of unique to have those 3 in a row.
I know.
Well, you mentioned that you told your husband you would want to, look into moving into a CCRC when you all get older, and that you have no kids. But do you have any furry family members?
I do. So I have Raven. She's a short-haired calico cat. She's now a tripod. She had 4 legs, but she had bone cancer in one of her legs. And so after, numerous trips to the surgeon, to the oncologist, she's doing good. She's bouncing around like, she's got 4 legs. She doesn't know any better. She's only got 3. So, and then we have Brian's cat, Sharpie. Sharpie is a black cat. So that's how that's how he gets his name, Sharpie. And Sharpie is like our bad cat. Sharpie's just like the little, mischievous cat. And he also kind of terrorizes Raven a little, at least lately. But, those two, they don't quite get along. I think Raven was just pretty territorial when he came on in. But, we've kind of, basically, we have to give them anti-anxiety medication in order for them to get along.
Well, better them than you, right?
Yeah. We tried everything to get them to get along. Everything under the sun, and then finally, like we after numerous times speaking to the vet, they're like, yeah, you're gonna have to put them on some anti-anxiety medication, and okay. And truthfully, it seems like they're much better. They've been on anti-anxiety medication for quite some time.
Doing well.
Yeah.
Well, we share our pet stories quite often in the office, and my husband and I just adopted a puppy back in October who he fondly calls the terrorist.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was working from home, and she was sneaking in and taking papers out of my briefcase and tearing down the stairs. So she's our bad.
She's so cute.
She is cute.
She's so cute.
She really fortunately is getting along with our other dog most of the time, as long as she doesn't push him too hard. She wants to play with him all the time, and he's a little older and
and I think that's Sharpie's issue with Raven, is he wants to play with Raven, and Raven's like, I'm not having it.
Yeah, this is not my idea of fun.
No, leave me alone.
So, as the Director of Communications and PR, what have you been focused on for the first 8 or 9 months of your tenure?
Sure. So really both of us have been focused on laying some of the foundation work with regards to branding, some standards with regards to marketing communications, especially to our external audiences. And as such, we've established branding style guidelines when there really hadn't been so much in the past. And basically those identity guides provide the proper use of the logo, provide the color specifications of the logo as well as the complementary colors, the fonts that are to be used, as well as, you know, where the logo and any type of contact information is to appear on letterhead, envelopes, email signatures, things of that nature. We have also been working on templates to provide some of our staff members, or team members rather, with flyers, template flyers, trifold brochure flyers, digital letterhead, so that they don't always have to start from scratch when trying to create, let's say, a brochure or a newsletter, things of that nature, and yet they're all on brand. We've also been working on websites. I have been working to try to beef up some of our blog posts, because from a marketing perspective, those blog posts aren't are just as good for internal, audiences like our residents as well as our team members, but also for external audiences, being potential residents. It can serve as what is known as content marketing, basically providing valuable, resourceful content to audiences that help establish Carroll Lutheran Village or the Lutheran Village at Miller's Grant, as well as the Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland as an expert in the industry. So we've been working on building up those blog posts. So if you haven't seen them, go out to the websites and look under news. You'll see some blog posts there. We also share them on social media as well. We are also working, as Ann had mentioned, on the LSMFD website. So I've recently completed a chunk of the copy for that. I'll be working with our vendor on the design and basically, building the website for Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland. And then from there, we plan to do basically refreshes, redesigns of Carroll Lutheran Village and the Lutheran Village of Miller's Grant. So really, just to sum up, the main activities I've been working on is really building that foundation with regards to branding, with regards to standards, some policies, as well as websites, building up content, making the sites a bit more robust, and then also working on Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland website.
I think that both Mary Ann and I are not only A-type personalities, but also fixer personalities. And so I remember when I brought her on to say, we have a lot that we need to really initiate and set as standards and fix and tweak. And I can speak for myself to say the days fly by, which is wonderful for me. That you're happy when you blink your eye and oh my gosh, it's time to go home again.
I know. There's no shortage of things that need to be done.
So, we talked a little bit about your position here. What do you do in your spare time?
Well, pre-COVID or during COVID?
How about both?
So pre-COVID, I used to like to go to restaurants and go to museums and go to the theater, all those kinds of places, maybe even a winery. Gosh, remember when you could be able to do those things. But now, since we are in COVID, I'm a bit more conscious about going out, especially you know, especially during the winter time, like some of my friends were having holiday parties, and I'm like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable with going to the holiday party at this point.
Smart move.
Yeah, so it's really been like, you know, just laying low. And to some extent, you know, I've enjoyed that. I will say this, you know, COVID has made me, you've had to adapt, and it's made me have to adapt. I've had to be flexible, and I've learned to enjoy some of that laid back lifestyle, you know, instead of constantly going here, constantly going there, constantly doing this, you know, hanging around the house a bit more. I mean, you know, my husband was able to work from home because the college was closed, you know, when this whole thing hit. And because he was home more often, you know, he was able to tend to the garden more. And it was just a really nice thing to see, you know, the growth of the garden. You know, I don't really participate in, you know, taking care of the garden, but I will, you know, pick the bounty from it and enjoy it. But that was just really nice to, you know, just enjoy what you've grown. And, you know, just taking that slower pace.
I didn't realize until COVID hit how frenetic my own personal life was. You know, how many outside activities, and why I was always feeling like, oh, I gotta get here, I gotta get there. And I agree with you. I think that that's something that has been a silver lining in a very dark cloud, of that ability to reconnect with, you know, those that are so very close to you, and really dive into the things that you like to do but maybe didn't feel like you had time to do in the past. How about post-COVID? What are you looking forward to the most?
Truthfully, I'm looking forward to travel. Brian and I used to travel a good bit. And when I say a good bit, we kind of had, we would set our vacations so that one year was a travel vacation, and then the next year would be like a relaxed vacation. So, you know, we've gone to the UK, we've gone to Germany, we've gone to Italy, we've gone to several other places during our travel years. And then usually the non-travel years is like someplace at a beach. We've discovered Chincoteague, and we really,
beautiful.
Yeah, we really like Chincoteague as our relaxing place. But I've been itching to go back to Ireland. There were portions of Ireland that I didn't see that I would like to see, and you know, a chunk of my family is from Ireland, and so I just would like to go back. And I'm kind of like feeling the thirst and the energy to go travel abroad again, but I don't think that's happening until not this summer, but maybe next.
But next, yeah. We, my husband and I traveled a bit before COVID and flew into Dublin. So we were able to see the green hills and fields. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I really hadn't thought about going to Ireland before looking at it, and then my husband and I both thought, well, you know, we need to put that on our bucket list.
Yeah.
So, traveling, is there anything else on your bucket list that you want to do that, in a perfect world, you'd like to get done?
Oh, gosh, I have no idea about that one.
Okay, well, that's all right. Threw that one out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I really, I just don't know. So, you know, I'm not very good at having like bucket lists or anything like that. You know, I think sometimes I leave. That's kind of the element of spontaneity in my life, you know. So yeah.
So, you know, I think that one of the things that's come to the forefront for everybody is the importance of the internet, especially during this time where so many people are working remotely and people have been, you know, needing to confine to their apartments or their homes. Do you think you could live without the internet?
No. No. Well, I mean, I suppose, I'm sure I could. It just would be a big hurdle to get over. I remember when we were in Germany and we were in Munich, and the hotel we were staying in did not have Wi-Fi. You know, all right, I got through it. We then went to Berlin, and that hotel had Wi-Fi, and I said out, I'm looking at my phone, and I said out loud, "Oh, Wi-Fi, how I have missed you." So, and then, you know, my husband, you know, being the techie that he is, you know, he kind of needs Wi-Fi, or he prefers Wi-Fi. And so we basically, when we travel, at least in the States, we kind of have a few requirements. One, air conditioning. Two, TV, because I fall asleep to the TV. And three, Wi-Fi. Those are 3 room requirements.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, I agree. You need to have that, especially if you're on a cruise. Sometimes it's hard to get that, or it's expensive. And,
Yeah.
But sometimes it's good to just let it go too.
Yeah.
And realize, hey, I don't absolutely need it all the time.
Well, and it's interesting because you kind of said something there. My husband is a photographer, and so he's always taking pictures, especially when we are, you know, on travel. I don't take as many pictures, and, you know, because I have found I like to be in that moment. So I kind of get where you're coming from, in the sense that when you're disconnected, you're, you know, you're fully present. Because it's kind of the way I feel with picture taking when I'm, you know, traveling.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my. Well, you mentioned, you know, the branding and the websites. Are there, you know, other initiatives that you are looking forward to accomplishing or beginning in your role?
Sure. So the websites are one. And also looking forward to doing more content marketing. So taking some of those blog posts and, you know, getting them into email campaigns, maybe creating additional topical content, whether that's video, whether that's in a written form, and again, you know, publishing that in email, in blogs, sharing that out on social. And then I would also say, you know, really delving more into our analytics. We've done some of that, but, you know, given other priorities, you know, we don't get to fully get that big picture and see how things are connected and how things are fully performing. Like we, excuse me. So for example, you know, if we share a blog post, we'll share it out on social media. It may go out on, you know, an email campaign. It may also be mentioned in a printed newsletter. It may also be advertised in maybe another newsletter of some sort, you know, and it's okay. So how did this one piece in its entirety, how much traffic did it bring to our website?
How many
leads, you know, really getting down deep into the minutia. And right now we're sort of taking that higher level look, but we haven't quite gotten down to that deep level.
A little lower.
Yeah, we're getting there. And I think the new CRM will help.
Yes.
But, you know, I think that would be really cool.
So by CRM, what Mary Ann is talking about is that we have software that helps us to be able to communicate and keep track of people that express interest in our communities, and helps to sort of push or remind the sales team to reach out to folks. And we're in the process right now of changing that, because there are the one we have right now is pretty simplistic. It does okay, but when she was talking about analytics, it's very hard to pull the reports to kind of say what's working, what's not, and this new one, we actually have what we call marketing automation coming in the spring, and that is going to keep Mary Ann very busy too, because just as she was talking about the email campaigns, and it's a very exciting time in the marketing department for LSMMD as well as both communities.
Yeah.
So, well, I've really enjoyed this time with you. I feel like I've known her, but then we work together so closely.
Yeah, we're just right next door.
We're right next door to each other, but you learn something new every day, and I do have to say that I'm very grateful to Mary Ann, because you'd think that you can't learn something new the older you get, but I have learned so much from her about websites and posting and blogs, and she's been a really great asset and friend, best friend at work, shall we say.
Aw, well, thanks.
So
And it's been a great pleasure working with you as well. Very supportive, certainly willing to help me out when I need additional assistance.
Well, your assistant is most appreciated. And do you remember who will be the next interview?
So I think that is up to Ken Conley.
Okay.
To interview,
our Vice President of Operations.
To interview either one of the executive directors.
Okay, so we will be looking forward to either John Henry, who's the Executive Director of Carroll Lutheran Village, or Michelle Rosenheim, who is the Executive Director of Lutheran Village at Miller's Grant. So thank you all for your time today, and we look forward to sharing with you some more stories about our team.
Thank you. Bye.